everyone, Christelle here from Christelle's Art Factory. Today I'm going to show you how to make a super easy art journal. All you need is basically single pages. I've got watercolor pages, it's what I've got left from when I was a teenager. I found that at my mum's a few months ago. That's Canson Aquarelle watercolor, they're lightweight, 185 GSM, which is 90 pounds LBS. So I've got a few of these left. I've also got the back as well, which I've kept. Depending on whether you want a cover or not. If you want a cover, I'm going to do a cover for mine, and I'm going to be using the cardboard from an empty cereal box. I'm going to be using some rings as well. These ones are 1 centimeter diameter, which is 5/8 of an inch, and basically they're pretty good. These ones, they just you pull them and they just open. You insert into your pages and you just close them, and they're quite sturdy, these ones, so they're pretty good. I'm gonna be using a hole punch, 2 holes as well. You can use a 4-hole one if you're using A5, not A5, A4 paper, or bigger, with, but obviously you'll need more rings. Don't use the cheap ones for these. Use a nice quality one, because otherwise it's not going to cut your paper nicely. It's going to be quite rough, and that might damage the paper. I'm going to be using a Sharpie as well, or you can use just a regular pencil, whichever you prefer. But because what I'm going to do is I'm going to be measuring and tracing the dimensions of my paper onto the cereal box. I'm going to be doing it on top of the print, so this is why I'm going to use a Sharpie, because with the pencil I won't be able to see anything. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need, really. So all you need to do, first thing you need to do, is get your paper and put the cover, the blackboard there. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 pages left, but obviously, it depends on how many you have. You're going to need to be doing several lots. I'm going to be doing 2, I think should be okay. I'm going to give it a try with 3 pages first. I've got 4 left, and I'll see how it goes then. What I'm going to do is decide exactly where I want my holes, and then I'm just going to use this adjuster to make sure that it's exactly the same. Now on some of them, like on mine, I don't know if you can see it, I don't think you can, but you've actually got the page sizes that tells you where you can put your paper, to be able to actually punch it in the middle of the page. So that should be, no, I'm not happy with that one. I'll use the next one. Let's have a look now. Yeah, that's more like it. Right, what I recommend you do with these rings, 1 centimeter diameters, if the diameter is bigger, it's not going to be so much of a problem. You're going to be fine. But with these ones, what I found when I did another one is that usually when you punch with a hole punch, you just put the page completely, you push it against both ends, so this end and this end, so it stops. But I find if you do it pushing it that way, to the limit, the pages are punched a little bit too much, well, a little bit too wide, compared to the edge of the page, and with the ring the pages actually catches when you're trying to turn them. It just makes it quite difficult. So what I recommend you do is to push it obviously to the edge to see where it is, and just remove it a little bit and then punch it. So I know it's a little bit at the edge, but you won't have a problem turning your pages then. Just make sure it's not too much at the edge. But the fact you've got watercolor and still a nice weight, even though it's, you know, only 185 GSM, it's still a nice weight and it should be okay, you know, as long as you're not too rough turning your pages. Now I've got my other 4 pages. I'm going to be doing pretty much the same. Here we are, pushing it and putting it a little bit and punch. Here we go. So now I've got my pages all together. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna attach them first of all, and I will do the covers with the cereal box after, and I add it after, because that's the beauty with these, because they're not clutched permanently. You can always open them. I can add my pages for my, you know, I can add my covers after, you know, after I've done them, so it's not too much an issue. And also as well, because I've kept the back of the block for my pages, I can use that as a guide on the cereal box for the measurements. So I'll be fine with these. So if I can put them together, the good thing as well about these, if you put your cover after, is that you can actually paint it before you actually attach it. Here we go. So that's one there. These ones are quite sturdy, so you have to actually pull them quite hard to be able to open them. That one's a little bit tight. Here we go. Here we are. I mean, as I said, you know, you don't have to have a cover. You can have just, you know, your art journal just like that, just as it is, and you can add as many pages as you want. And I mean, the good thing with this one is that you can always add pages. The option that you have is to actually paint your single pages before you actually punch them, but obviously while you're painting your pages you have to keep in mind that you will have 2 holes, you know, put in them at a later date. So either you'll have to leave a little bit of room and not paint anything on that side, or you just have to be happy with the fact that, well, your painting is going to be punched and you're going to have a couple of holes in it. But you can add as many pages as you like with these. I quite like these ones. The only downside of this format is that it's quite tricky to do double page spreads, because obviously you've got that separation and it moves as well. But that's quite an easy format to have as long as you've got the rings. Obviously you don't have to use rings like these. You can use, well, pretty much anything you want, you know. You could use rings from key rings if you want, but obviously, you know, you're gonna have to be very mindful about putting them through the paper because the paper might get damaged. Or you can just use ribbon, you know, as long as you tie it very loosely so you have enough room to turn your pages. You could use baker's twine as well. There's loads and loads and loads of options that you have with this kind of format. Now what I'm going to do is do the cover. So I'm going to put those pages away and I'm going to grab my cereal box. I'm just going to unglue this to attach it, to be able to flatten it. I mean, losing my words. I'm going to put the cardboard backing from my page blocks just on the edge here. And with my Sharpie, I'm just going to trace around So that's gonna be one side of my cover, and I'm gonna be doing the same on the other. Just making sure that I line up with the original fold. Here we are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear these. Might use a bond folder actually. Here we go. If I use a bond folder, that's going to be a little bit easier. And one thing I didn't mention at the beginning for the supplies, which is a really obvious thing, obviously, is the scissors. Or you can actually use, if you want, you can actually use a craft knife as well, if you feel confident enough. You can use also a paper trimmer, but with this weight, I'm not 100% sure that's going to cut it very nicely. So I'd rather take my chances with the scissors and not cut straight then. At least it will be cut properly. Now don't worry too much if you don't cut straight, or even if you cut inside the line, because the line is outside the measurement of the page anyway, because the cardboard was just so thick. So you'll always have a little bit of room. So that's my first one. Now what I like about the cereal boxes, to use the cardboard of cereal boxes for covers, is that it's quite a nice weight. It's always going to be thicker and sturdier than the paper that you use. But also it's not as thick as the cardboard or the chipboard style you get at the backing of blocks of paper. Sometimes, I mean, you know, I would have loved to use the back of this paper block, but it's just so thick. There's just no way my hole punch is going to be able to punch the holes properly in this, so that would damage it more than anything. So I didn't really want to use it for that. Here we are. So I've got my two, just remove that bit as well. Here we go. I've just got my two bits of cardboard for my cover and for the backing as well. Now loads of things that you can use with this to cover the pattern that you have on the front of the cereal box. Well, you can gesso over it. Obviously it's gonna leave, you know, depending on how many coats and what kind of gesso you're gonna use, it's gonna leave a little bit of the pattern, which can be quite nice. I mean, I have to be honest, I really like that pattern, so I might actually keep that when I decide to actually paint my covers. Or if you want the easy option, you can actually just glue some pattern paper or just a plain sheet of paper on top of it, and you can just start painting, you know, whatever you like there. Now before you punch these, you have to decide which side is gonna be at the front. So for your front cover, do you want the pattern to be on top, or do you want the back to be on top? If you want to paint and you don't want too much hassle, then obviously, you know, the back will be the cardboard side is going to be an easy option because it's plain. But it depends very much what you want to do. If you want to collage paper on top to cover it, I recommend that sorry, I recommend you actually do it before you punch the paper. If you're using something like scrapbooking paper, if it's already punched, you're gonna have a really hard time. You're gonna have basically to punch your cover again, and that might not punch exactly where it is. I mean, if you use the guide from the hole punch, it should, but you never know, and you might end up having to punch two thick layers, which might not punch very nicely. Well, anyway, what I'm gonna do is, I think for the cover, because I want to keep a little bit of that nice image. I really like the cereals and, you know, the strawberries and all that. It's very colorful, it's really pretty, and I love my food, so, you know, I'm very biased for that. So I'm gonna punch it with the holes so that the cover will be showing the pattern there. Here we go. I just punched it the wrong way, so if I punch it a bit more, there, here we are. Right, it's a bit thicker, but doesn't matter too much as long as it's as long as I've got room there, I'll be fine. Here we go. Close these. Here we are. And now for the back, I think I'll want a plain back for that one. So I'm gonna use, yes, I'm gonna do the punches here, and obviously when I open I'll have the pattern inside, but I'll be covering that anyway, so it's not a big deal. I'm gonna punch it, even though I've decided to cover this with gluing some paper on top, because the reason for that is I never use scrapbooking paper. I just find it too expensive, and especially the thick one. You know, I have a few sheets, but it's quite thin scrapbooking paper, and what I might do actually is even just print on just some regular printing paper. I might just print one of my paintings and just glue it on it, or even, you know, maybe just use regular printing paper and just, you know, paint on it, do some kind of pattern and glue on it, so it's not gonna be too thick for me to punch a hole in it again. So I like to make things easy for myself, not too complicated. Here we go. So if I punch that one there, so I said I wanted it here, so I need to punch here as well. Here we go. So push it against to know where the maximum is and pull it a little bit. Here we are. Here we go. And I've got a nice little art journal ready for me to do loads of experimenting. All I need to do is just to do my cover, and as I said, I can do them anytime I like. You know, I can do them, I can start, you know, just experimenting in my art journal right now and do the covers maybe 2 months later. It doesn't matter. I really like that kind of journal, that kind of format, because it gives you that much flexibility. Most of the time when you do a journal in any other way, you're kind of stuck with what you've done, whereas here you've got so much flexibility of adding pages. I mean, you can even add, you know, different kinds of pages, you know, different kinds of paper, as long as, you know, the format, the size is no bigger than your cover. You can even add smaller pages, you can have tabs. You can even add poly pockets as well, which you can cut to size. There's loads and loads and loads of options that you have with this kind of format, so I really like it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and what I will do as well, I will on my blog post some photos of what I've done with the covers at a later date, so keep you updated. There we are. Just enjoy and have fun. Bye.